entertain a motion to return from executive session into open session.
So moved.
Second?
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Ms. Rice?
Yes, thank you. Welcome all in the audience tonight and also in the viewing audience. This is the October 17th, 2013 Board of Township Trustees televised meeting. And if you would be so kind to join us in pledging allegiance to our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May I have a motion to adopt the agenda, please?
Make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Second?
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Ms. Rice?
Yes.
And just a quick comment, ma'am, the agenda is now listed on the website in a very convenient spot, andersontownship.org. And if you look under meetings, under trustee meetings, if you tap, double-click trustee meetings, a link to the agenda will show up there. And I expect that'll be available, what, about a week or so before each meeting?
You would have to ask Vicki, our administrator, that.
But at least several days.
It will be several days, typically before the televised meeting. The packets are produced on the Friday before the Thursday meeting. On the interim workshop meetings, the packets usually don't go out until the Monday or Tuesday prior to the board meeting. So the draft agenda will be posted when we send the packets out to the board. So it'll vary depending on the meeting.
Okay, very good, thank you. And thanks to staff for taking care of that minor issue.
Good. Thank you. This is the time when we have presentations and recognitions, and we've had many in the past, and it's always an enjoyable time. I don't believe we have any this evening, do we? No.
No, we do not.
Okay. All right. Well, that would take us into our legislative update. Our state representative, Peter Stoutberg, is here, and early. We were expecting him later, but we're happy to hear from him.
Thank you. Everything worked out well time-wise, and thank you for having me again. I apologize I missed a couple meetings due to conflicts, but we are back in business and working up in Columbus. There's a plenty going on. The committee, especially the State Government Committee, is very active. My committee, Public Utilities, is going to get active. A couple things of particular note for you all. Of course, I did drop my annexation bill, which I've been working on with Terry Blair for a while. It's a pretty straightforward proposal, and that is to go back to where we were in 2001. And it's our understanding that the change they tried to make there was that a township may not use a road to block an annexation. And by the way things were worded, they broadened the definition to any, and I say township, I apologize, any political subdivision. The wording was not artfully done, and as a result, any land owned by a political subdivision had no rights to agree or disagree with the Type 2 annexation. So our proposal is to roll that back so that the local political subdivisions do have a right to say yes or no to an expedited Type 2 annexation. I've had plenty of opposition already. I expect plenty more. It will be a battle. There's plenty of representatives who have townships that they represent. There's plenty that represent cities solely, and there's plenty like me that have both. So I think that there is a way to get to a happy medium, and that we're a place where we should be, quite frankly, because the township-owned lands and the school board-owned lands belong to the taxpayers. And why in the world wouldn't you give them a say-so in how things go? I will say, and you all have been around long enough to know this, that the landscape of annexation and townships is quite different throughout the state. In Columbus, Ohio, the water and sewer goes along with it, which is quite different than what we have down here with a county-owned and water and sewer system. So another bill I don't know if we've talked about before, but I have a House Bill 4 which has to do with performance measurements, which we may want to talk about taking advantage of. I think it has a good chance of getting through. And it sets up, we had a local government innovation fund, which we set aside some grant money and some loan money. And of course, the grant money got taken up quite quickly, and nobody touched the loan money, or very few did. But we're going to take some of that loan money, move that over to grant money for micro grants to allow political subdivisions to use it to whatever way they see fit to, work with data points and upload and work with companies that will take all the numbers and crunch them and then give you benchmarks and data that you can look at how you are doing compared to other similarly sized townships, cities, what you may have some similarities with. So that's House Bill 4, and we're not seeing any opposition really to that, so we're hoping to get that through as well. So plenty of other stuff going on that you read about. I'm happy to answer any questions you have, talk about anything that may come on your mind.
Peter, how many more hearings do you expect on House Bill 277?
Well, we're doing sponsor next week.
Okay.
So I'm not sure. We'll do, after that, we'll do a proponent hearing, and then we'll do an opponent hearing. I'm not sure if we'll need any beyond that. So I would not expect anything very quickly. Terry Blair has quite a few bills that he's dealing with in his committee.
Would you like to call on any of us in the township for testimony?
Yeah, we will. And we'll also
Okay.
get the Township Association
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
But that'll be a few weeks down the road.
Well, I congratulate you for drafting the bill. It's astonishing to me why it has taken this long for townships and their taxpayers to be counted at the table as a landowner. It's amazing. But that's the one compromise that we can't afford to lose, because for us, that's what it was all about. And the fact that the roadway is in there as a vehicle of annexation, it is what it is. And it's as part of the other annexation bill as well. So, but I just would plead with you that when this bill is about to leave committee, that you watch it very carefully, because there has been some experience in the past for all of a sudden something quickly gets changed or tagged onto it, and don't let bad things happen to it.
Yeah, we will keep an eye out, and it
Okay.
is interesting, of the people who were around back in '01, there's about 4 different versions of what actually was, what happened and what was intended.
I'll bet.
We will hear them out.
Yeah, well, anyway, that's great work.
Thank you.
Peter, when it gets right down to it, all we've ever asked for is to be on a level playing field. We're not asking for any special favors in this thing, and those people have to understand that. That's all we want. Be treated like everyone else. We are human beings, and we are equal to everyone else in the state, and we darn well should be treated that way.
I agree.
So, if I did have one other question. We've been reading about a possibility that the governor might be trying to circumvent the legislature as it relates to the Obamacare. How's that? Maybe you might explain what in the world that is.
The Medicaid expansion issue, and yes, it is apparent that that is what he is trying to do. And really, although the Medicaid expansion piece was part of the Obamacare package, it's a little bit different than what everybody else thinks of as Obamacare. He has submitted a request to the controlling board, and the controlling board is used for appropriations. When something needs to be appropriated or paid, it goes to the controlling board. Even it's a separate process from the budget. To my knowledge, something certainly on this scale has never been done before. I was one of 37 or 38 people who signed a letter to the governor expressing our disappointment. I sound kind of
Outrage.
things.
Say outrage.
That this procedure would be used, because we were pretty clear in what we thought about about the Medicaid expansion back in the budget time. And he is using this to appropriate the funds, and that will go before the controlling board next Monday. There will be a fight even after that. And in the meantime, there are 2 or 3 or 4 bills or bills not yet dropped where we are working on reforms to Medicaid, where, we're trying to take the cost curve that goes like this and bend it down so it's not skyrocketing out of control and taking out so much of our budget. We would certainly have preferred that he work with us to get some reforms together and treat. There's a portion of people that are in need of treatment, but certainly buying the box of Medicaid expansion off the shelf is something that most of us just don't like at all.
Well, Peter, I'd just like to commend you your efforts on House Bill 277. It's long overdue, and good luck with that.
Happy to help out, but I can't. I never take credit where I can. And Terry Blair, who's chairing this committee, is really taking the laboring war on this.
Well, take Ms. Wright's offer to heart that if you need some help, we'll be there.
We will let you know.
Thank you.
And we won't leave you hanging next time.
Okay.
Mrs. Rice.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good update, and very good news on annexation, I might say. Public forum is next, and what that means is that anyone in the audience who has a particular matter to discuss with this board may do so at this time. They may step forward, be concise in their comments, 5 minutes or less, and if you would state your name and address for the record, that would be helpful. So here's your chance to question us or grill us or whatever else you might want to do. Seeing none, we'll move forward with the agenda, which is trustee comments. Do we have any this evening?
No, ma'am.
Okay, good
I
work.
just have one. We have a vast crowd here tonight walked in.
In uniform.
Want to welcome, yes, they're all in uniform. They're not packing guns or anything.
We're from Troop 222, and we're just here, just learning to see how this works. Thanks for having us. Sorry for the late entry.
Come back.
Yeah,
Come to every meeting.
yeah. Thank you for your attendance. Our fiscal officer is next. That would be Mr. Kenneth Dietz. And Kenneth Dietz, do you have any reports for us?
Couple things. We've run our end of third quarter reports, our fund reports, our revenue reports, expenses. The expenses are coming in under. Revenues are pretty much what we expected, some just slightly higher. The fund balance report is also available, which shows you how much each fund has in their balances. So those are run every month for our meeting. Every October, we're required by the county auditor's office to approve the rates and amounts, and they send us a one-page synopsis of all our different tax rates. Some of them are full rates because they're inside millage. Others are rates that have been in existence over the years since 1976 when House Bill 920 took effect. So those rates might have started at 2 or 3 mils, and they might be down to anything like 0.7 mils at this time. So when you look at that report, you have to realize that everything is not multiplied by the full rate that was once voted in. But I did go over everything. The rates are all correct. The amounts are fairly close to what I would have calculated. Sometimes they consider that they might have some delinquencies, and they account for that. So we're hoping that we don't have the delinquencies and that we'll get maybe 1 or 2% more than what they've actually calculated here. And nobody knows what they're actually going to be until we do the collection. So I reviewed it, and I would need your approval to pass that resolution.
I would move that we adopt a resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor.
Second?
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Ms. Rice?
Yes.
And the good news, no appropriation changes.
Yay.
That's impressive.
Okay.
Round of
Not
applause.
paying any bills.
Yeah, right.
Oh, thank you, Ken. Under this section, we do have 4 sets of minutes for our approval. I have reviewed them. I'm assuming the other trustees have as well. Do we have a motion for approval?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of August 15th, 2013, September 5th, 2013, September 19th, 2013, and October 3rd, 2013, with minor changes as expressed to the administrator earlier today.
Second.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Ms. Rice?
Yes. Our law director is next, and that would be Mrs. Margaret Comey.
Thank you. I have no report.
Thank you. Planning and zoning, we're zipping right through this, aren't we? Sheriff's Office, Lieutenant Guy. You all get to go home early, it looks like. Okay. Well, Public Works has something, I do know that. Richard Shelley, that's all right. We're conducting business.
Don't get me, don't get me.
It's an awfully big book, Mr. Shelley.
Well, before the board tonight, we had an issue with the Duke Energy Retail addendum. And what it is currently we're with Duke Energy Retail to be our electric service provider for the township lighting, buildings, and street lighting. On an annual basis, we have a contract. The last contract we had with them was back in 2012. This process is somewhat, how should we say in the ORC terms, not in a straight line. There's a lot of process that has to go through to collect the bids, to talk to the suppliers, to bring it in. I don't know if that's me or not. It might be me. I'm not even touching the podium, but that
We liked you the other way.
I appreciate that. But, so there's a lot of process involved with getting the bids together and everything. What I wanted to do more than anything else was get the information to the board tonight, ask you to look over it in great detail, but I was going to come back to the next meeting with final numbers and say, the process is the same, what you've seen on paper is how we need to go, but the numbers might have changed a little bit. Let me give you a quick example of this. We are talking about, in some cases, 4 and 5 1/1000ths of a dollar that separates these two, the vendors which we're doing business with, which is a very small number, but then you multiply it by millions, so at the end of the year you may have a number around $2,000 or $3,000 that's differential, because we spend about $120,000 a year total in energy. With that in mind, I want to make sure that we're comparing apples to apples, and that I give you a good amount of information. Mr. Bryan already commented, but this is our due diligence process so far to provide you with the best information that we can. As they say, the devil's always in the details. We're beating through the details, trying to figure out what's the best advice to give the board so they can make a decision going forward, not only for the next 12 months, but then further down the road. So that's my spiel for tonight. Of course, you have it in front of you, and I'll be happy to answer any questions, but be prepared for me to come back to the next meeting.
And Mr. Shelley, as we discussed earlier, since Mr. Magna was waiting on 2 more quotes, we did not provide the board with that information
Okay,
until
I
we had
apologize.
the full package. So we will provide that at the November interim to give you all of the quotes. At this point, we only had 2, and we were trying to get additional quotes as the board had requested last year.
And just to be clear, this is just the energy that our buildings, townships?
Correct. This
and
is
the lighting
just the
districts.
energy that we consume as a township, that we pay for in our billing cycles.
Correct. Okay, thank you.
Shortly, as a segue, shortly before this meeting, I was informed that we're very close on actually getting numbers on the aggregation matter that we can announce to our citizens. Suzanne indicated that maybe by as early as our interim meeting, we may be able to see some numbers. She's had to jump through hoops to get what sounded like a simple answer, but indicated she's very close. Finally.
And again, this bidding process is very different. Our other bidding process is sealed bids or closed. We announce a time, we open an envelope, and everybody's surprised at the bid amounts. These, they're published, they come in, you tell the one supplier what you got, the other supplier has a chance to kind of beat it, and it's kind of it's a different process along the way. So again, I apologize for that, but you can see the amount of diligence we're putting into it, because we don't want to be in a position where we think we're paying less, and it ends up costing us more. Mr. Jackson calls that budget creep, and we try to keep the creeps out of the budget. That's all I have for tonight.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank
That's-
you.
That's a lot of work. Great. All right, Fire and Rescue, Mark Ober, our chief.
Good evening. Just have one item on the agenda tonight, as we brought up at the intermeeting. We have had a donation of a dining room table, set and chairs, given to us, and with the board policy, we need to accept that because the donation is pretty significant. It's approximately $2,500. So we appreciate that to the family who have donated it. It's at our Fire Station 6. So with that said, there should be a resolution for us to be able to accept that into our inventory.
And then you'll have a dinner party?
It's already
Maybe.
christened.
I would move that we adopt a resolution authorizing the acceptance of a donation from Shauna and David Fix as detailed before us.
Second?
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Ms. Rice?
Yes.
Did they retain the naming rights to the table and chairs?
Yes, there's actually a plaque on it for their
Very good.
recent loss. Thank you.
Well, that's quite nice. We appreciate it. Okay. All right, our township administrators are up next. Vicki Earhart, Steve Severs, and Suzanne Parker.
Yes, Mr. Severs has the first several items.
Good evening. As the board's aware, we've been working with a family of a township resident regarding the donation of property for the Green Space program. There's a resolution before you for this property, which is located at the intersection of 5 Mile and Old 5 Mile Road. I would love to give you the acreage, but part of the action that we're requesting tonight is allow the staff to proceed with that survey. And as the board is aware, there have been a lot of questions as to the acreage and size of this parcel, but it is lies adjacent to township green space that currently exists in the 5 Mile Road right-of-way. So it would be a nice completion of that corner of the intersection to be maintained as green space. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer those. Otherwise, we will proceed accordingly and keep you updated.
I would move that we adopt a resolution accepting the offer of the estate of Luella Lederer to donate real property to the township as detailed before us.
Second?
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Ms. Rice?
Yes.
Thank you again. We will keep you posted and certainly let you know the exact acreage once that's determined. The second item I have is the initiation of the Anderson Township Design Guidelines. This is a project that the township staff has been working on for quite some time with the assistance of our township's Economic Development Committee. It's actually a process that began several years ago with the Anderson Township Comprehensive Plan update in 2011 and the subsequent plans that have been completed for the Ohio Riverfront and that are currently being considered for the Angkor area. That called for a more broad approach to the appearance, to the configuration of new development in the community, but also the recognition that that development needs some flexibility. And rather than trying to identify and develop zoning guidelines or strict criteria for each of those unique business areas in the committee decided to choose this approach. The guidelines are available on our website under the news section and have been available for several months. We had 9 meetings throughout the community to discuss these further, and these would apply to new non-residential development or substantial redevelopment in non-residential areas. We think of Beachmont, but that would also include portions of Clough Pike, Salem Road, State Road 32, Kellogg, et cetera. So again, I want to thank our staff and the Economic Development Committee for their leadership in this process, and this is just the initiation of these guidelines. They would come back before the Zoning Commission, ultimately the Board of Trustees in Hamilton County at future meetings for consideration. So if there are questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Yeah, Steve, public input on these is very important to you and staff, obviously. And these kinds of things are available on the website to view. And if somebody wants a hard copy, they can request one of those also.
Correct.
And what I'm referring to here is our next one that's going to be looking at is the Angkor area plan draft, and that's available on the website. But that's another very important aspect to our township. It's going to what happens down there is going to perhaps affect the township for many, many years to come, if not decades to come. And we need public input. There's been a committee assigned, that's done work on that, but to have some additional input from others would be very helpful.
Certainly the steering committee that's been leading that process for, the last 18 months or so, I think has helped that, but certainly the input and the outreach that the committee's tried to do to get additional input is important. The website's one resource. In the case of the design guidelines, In addition to having them on the website, we mailed notice to every non-residential property owner in the township, so there were 213 property owners, something like that. We did have 9 meetings throughout the community. We had 6 at off-site locations in business districts. We had 1 outside down at Riverside Park in the Encore area. It was a rainy day, but we were undercover, so we did our best to try to be out there in the community, and we'll continue that. Again, this is the initiation of these, so feedback is still encouraged and welcome as part of this process.
No, absolutely. If you look through this, whether it's this design plan or the Encore or some of the others that we do in the future, it's very important to look through it and to give us feedback.
Steve, does this go before regional planning at all?
Yes, it would. Ultimately, it would come first to the Zoning Commission. We're anticipating that would be reviewed on November 25th, I believe would be the date if it's initiated tonight. It would come back to the board in December for consideration and possibly go to the Planning Commission as early as January.
Okay.
What I'd like to also make the note is that while this has been developed over a period of 12 to 24 months, we have been using this internally with new development as a reference as well. So some of the new buildings that are going up, though they precede this, have been developed with the recommendations and the guidelines in mind.
I think the important thing, Steve, is to remind people that this is different than a change in the zoning code. These are, by the nature of the word, the contraction, guidelines. These are suggested designs, and the amazing thing, as you said, is that how many people are jumping on board and wanting to be consistent with the guidelines that aren't even in place yet, if for no other reason, because it will create consistency in the appearance of what has historically been a pretty ugly piece of terrain along Beachmont Avenue. So,
well, it will. They were developed initially with Beachmont Avenue in mind, but again, as we expand these across the township, the character of Beachmont Avenue is considerably different than Clough Pike, than Salem Road, than the riverfront. So it kind of reflects the area that's surrounding it. And I think it is kind of the next piece in the puzzle. We've done a lot of work over the years on transportation and access. We've introduced signage guidelines and continue to refine those, and you see those with new development, landscaping, lighting, and parking lot we've done as well. So this is the next step, I think, in that continuum of raising the quality of development. And it gives everyone a sense of what the goal is and what the end goal is. It's not a situation where someone's coming in and halfway through the process, someone's suggesting that they should do this or this. It's up front. Everyone knows going into the development, which is critical for all partners.
with that, I would move that we adopt a resolution of the Board of Township Trustees initiating the adoption process for the Anderson Township Design Guidelines as detailed before us.
Second.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Ms. Rice?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item we have for the board's consideration, each year when the board employs attorneys, special counsel for the year, this past year the board selected Thomas Allen with the firm of Frost Brown Todd to do some of our labor work. This is the first year that we've engaged Mr. Allen in these activities, and he has shown himself to be superior in working with us, and we've had tremendous success. Due to that, because we've utilized him more than we anticipated, due to his abilities and skills and some of the things that have come up, we have exceeded or close to exceeding the allocation that the board approved last December. So we're asking the board to amend the previous resolution to authorize an additional sum of funds to get us through the remainder of this year.
I would move that we adopt a resolution to amend Resolution Number 12-1220-29, a resolution in order employing the firm of Frost Brown Todd LLC and Thomas B. Allen Esquire as attorneys for particular matters to authorize an additional $10,000 for up to an additional $10,000 for 2013.
Second.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Ms. Rice?
Yes.
Thank you. The next item we have every month, we present a list of events that are upcoming. October 26th is going to be a very busy day for us. Not only do we have some private events that are taking place at various township facilities, which will involve our Public Works Department and building attendance time, we also have 3 very public events on that same day. The first is the Great American Cleanup. Volunteers are encouraged to stop by Anderson Center Station between 8:30, or to register at 8:30 on the morning of the 26th. The event will take place from 8:30 until noon, where they'll be picking up trash in various locations throughout the township. We also have on that same day the National Prescription Drug Take Back Day at Anderson Center. That's between 10 and 2, where residents can safely dispose of their prescription medications. We will not be accepting any aerosol or liquids, but any pill form that they have, they can certainly bring by. And last but not least will be our Jack-o'-lantern walk, which is from 7 to 9 p.m. on the 26th. That is free admission. Children are encouraged to wear their costumes, and that will be on the South Plaza. On November 11th, which is actually Veterans Day, we'll be celebrating our veterans and the service to the community. This is not a memorial celebration. This is a celebration of what veterans have done for the community and for the country. We will be celebrating the 60th anniversary of the Korean War ceasefire, and the program this year will be a little different than things that we've done in the past. Veterans and up to 3 guests are invited to join us for dinner, which is being donated by Skyline Anderson. And United Dairy Farmers is also donating dessert. And we're having a dinner reception in the community meeting room. There will also be entertainment in the atrium. Tickets are free, as I said, for a veteran and up to 3 guests. Seats are limited, so we encourage everyone to call 688-8421 to make a reservation. The Anderson Area Chamber of Commerce will have their Anderson Area Pizza Showcase on Sunday, November the 10th from 1 to 4 p.m. Admission is $5 for adults, $2 for children 10 and under. And then, of course, we also have our Anderson Farmers Market. The start of the winter market is October 26th, and the market will end on December 14th. So we encourage people to come and shop the market. They have not only various produce, but also some gift ideas for the upcoming holidays. So we encourage people to visit the farmers market up at Anderson Center Station.
Got a couple quick comments, ma'am. On the pizza showcase, I've attended that a couple of times. That's a lot of fun.
Yes.
Bring
As long as the Bengals win.
Well, that's right. We put the football, open up the big room here, bring in 6 to 8 pizzerias from around, from Anderson. All the pizza you can eat, $5. Kids are $2, and football's on the big screens.
Yes. Yes.
And if you could also give a plug for our call for volunteers on our citizens committees.
Yes, there is an article in Anderson Insights. We have had items on our website as well, encouraging citizens to volunteer for a number of committees. And the board will be receiving a list of potential volunteers to appoint to our statutory and non-statutory boards in November, at the November televised meeting.
Yeah, those volunteers and those committees are very important in the smooth running of the township.
Yes, absolutely. We had a tremendous turnout, is one example of a volunteer effort this past Saturday at Hillcrest Cemetery. We had members of American Legion Post 318 that came in to help us move some headstones. We're going to have to drop 38 trees that have died, ash trees and various other trees that have died, and they need to be removed from the cemetery. And in order to prevent headstones from being broken, we had to move those. So we not only had volunteers from American Legion Post 318, there was also an Eagle Scout project. One of our local residents did an Eagle Scout project where he replaced headstones for veterans whose stones were so aged or broken that they were becoming illegible. And he replaced 30 headstones this weekend. So that just shows a tremendous effort. It was very labor-intensive, long planning effort on Matt Kennedy's part, who was the Eagle Scout candidate, to get that accomplished.
Great.
And again, the Legion volunteers out there helping us do this very difficult task.
It's heavy work.
It's
Yeah.
very heavy work.
Yeah. Thank you.
Did you?
This board expended a great deal of time and mental angst to determine what day we were going to hold trick or treat on, but I didn't see it on the list.
It's
might wanna repeat it.
not, we're trying to focus on the jack-o'-lantern walk.
Okay.
But no, trick or treat is October 31st from 6 to 8 p.m., which it is every year. That's the traditional date. And we frequently get calls. If it's on a Friday night, we'll get calls with residents that have concerned if they have children that are playing high school football and they want to be with their younger children trick-or-treating, but they want to be at the football game. Or we've received calls in the past from residents who do not like when when Halloween happens to fall on a Sunday for religious reasons. So we have traditionally, the board has stuck with October 31st, which is usually the date that is celebrated in the vast majority of jurisdictions throughout the state, and I would assume throughout the country, from 6 to 8 p.m. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. That's all we have this evening.
Nothing from executive session. Okay, good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to announce that that concludes our agenda for this evening. I will remind you that the next televised board meeting of this board is November 21st, 2013, 6 o'clock p.m. We hope you are all in attendance. You may call 688-8400 to confirm if you wish, and with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Second?
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Ms. Rice?
Yes. Thank you for your attendance. Meeting adjourned.